Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. And today I want to talk to you about common mistakes that are often made when using Deca Durabolin or NPP, short estered version of Deca. But before we get into that, just a big shout out and thank you to everybody out there that's watching and supporting the channel. I cannot thank you enough. If you haven't yet, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Any interaction with the channel, it really helps the channel to grow. It allows me to produce more and more content for you each and every day. Also, today's video is sponsored by letsgetchecked.com. Now, letsgetchecked.com specializes in at-home blood testing. All you have to do is go to their website, pick out whatever blood test that you want, and they have a huge catalog of tests for men and women, full hormonal wellness. You'll find whatever you need there. Order whatever you want. They're going to mail you a kit. All you have to do is go register online, provide the sample, ship it back. You're going to get the results back extremely fast. Right there online, they'll notify you. They have doctors and nurses there to answer any questions or concerns that you have. So check them out, letsgetchecked.com. Coupon code Gemelli30 is going to save you 30% off your entire order. So, all right, we're going to talk about a lot of common mistakes that people make with Deca. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you that are either newer to this or very well versed on Deca or whatever the case may be, you've got your presumptions about it. Some are more like assumptions, some are from experience, some are from what people lead you to believe. Let me tell you just a few things that you've got to understand. And I've said this quite a few times, but I just want to make sure I reiterate it in case you haven't seen it in other videos. I don't care what the facts tell you. I can sit up here and give you every piece of scientific data that I know. I can also give you what I continuously see consistently occur with certain compounds, but in no way, shape, or form does that offer you any sort of guarantee you're going to have the same experience. We are all different in terms of how we handle these things. There's a more wider majority that will have similar responses, but there is a lot of people that are just, for whatever the case may be, like for me, I'm very estrogen prone. But there's some people that are the exact opposite. And so you have to accommodate that as well because they could easily crush their estrogen if they're not careful. Some people seem to have a lot more aggression than others and they respond differently. Some people are more prone to acne. Some people are prone to male pattern baldness. I could go on and on and on. So just understand, when I give out different reasons, there could be multiple, and more than likely there are different types of scenarios for you that may not coincide with that. And that's why I want to preface that, because I always want to be open and let you know the differences here and what to expect, and not just tell you that's it, that's the way it is like some people do, because that's not it. It's not. So several things that I see that can be problematic with Deca. One, I often see people use it too much Deca. And for me, it's hard to put them like in a order of importance, but this is the one that I see done the most, where people believe that you have to run 500, 600, 700 milligrams of Deca, and it is such a powerful and strong steroid. I would never get up here and give people just nonsensical bullshit information. When I tell you you can make gains on 300 milligrams of Deca, I am 1,000,000% certain. I'm not saying that to be Mr. Conservative Dose, Mr. Protective, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying it because some people say, well, you're not even big. How do you come up with that? Okay, for fuck's sake. The only people that say that have the smallest, tiniest little fucking pigment of a brain cell left, that have no clue. Not only have I coached people for over a decade, but I also have trained to be bigger. I've used things to be bigger. I know how to dose these things, and I know what works, and I know what can cause you problems unnecessarily and what you don't absolutely need to make gains. My goal is to get you the absolute most that you can possibly gain while preserving your health and longevity and making sure that your health comes first so you can continue to run these cycles. Or you could go blast the shit out of these, get some kind of massive gains, and then go completely backwards because you're suffering from every sort of side effect possible, and then you never get anywhere. You backtrack, you shave years off your life, just for being an asshole running it that way. So I promise you, And I would not come up here and say that and put my credibility on the line. I promise you, 300 and 400 milligrams, you can get sweet gains on Deca, and you can avoid so many of the side effects. Okay? Somebody will tell you, well, you won't gain 15, 20 pounds if you don't go over 500 milligrams. If you gain 15 or 20 pounds, how much of that weight do you really honestly think is good, clean, keepable weight? Or would you rather get the absolute most out of it, maybe gain 8 to 10? It's much cleaner, have a greater likelihood of keeping it, and not putting yourself through all of the other issues that you could encounter with Deca. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I'm going to go with the lower dose option. But anyway, moving on. Number 2, using Deca without testosterone with a preface. Because I have seen and have talked with people that I hold in a very high regard, that I respect, that stand by Deca only cycles. So I'm not going to get up here and tell anybody that it can't be done, that there can't be some benefit to it, and that people haven't had great success with it. But what I will tell you is that I see far more people not handle it well, have a terrible experience, one that really, really hurts them in a variety of ways. So what I would say, if you want to do that, is just tread lightly, and if you start to feel something that's off or see something's off, don't hesitate to just stop and prevent, some really other bad side effects from happening. And if you can run it effectively and be in, fine standing on your blood panels, well, God bless you, because it can be done. But I see a ton of complaints and problems with it over so many years. So it's definitely a valid problem for some. Problem number 3 is a very, very tough one, but I have to address it, and that is the testosterone to Deca ratio when you're dosing it. I swear to you, you will have people fight tooth and nail to tell you that you need more test than Deca, and you will have the exact opposite group telling you that you absolutely have to have more Deca than test. Here's the deal with that. That's kind of like a really super subjective concept where it's like really, really adherent to the specific user. My recommendation that I always say to go with, especially if you're unsure, is keep them equal. And that really seems to mitigate a lot of the problems that people have with, having side effects with Deca. And just to reiterate, side effects with Deca, the increases in prolactin that can kind of cause the Deca dick problem, where you just have zero interest of any kind whatsoever, and you're just complete loss of libido. It's a terrible feeling, and it's something that nobody wants to deal with. Then a lot of times their prolactin to estrogen levels are way off. Some people think that Deca converts at a high rate. Some people don't control it at all because they think that it can curtail the estrogen that comes from testosterone, which is not true, because Deca even has small, tiny amounts of estrogen conversion. But then again, some people think that it converts so much they overdo the aromatase inhibitor. The ratios are way off. So it's an issue that pops up a lot when that I see with Deca users. So, that's something that you need to be aware of, and a common problem with it. But, the high amounts of suppression, some people will say that they are holding a ton of water, but there again, that lies in with the what I was discussing about estrogen control. And then, mind you, this is a really, really long ester, so it lingers, and it does stay in your system for a significant amount of time. So that's another thing to think about with it. But a lot of times, what I was saying there, I will see the complete misuse or misunderstanding of how to control prolactin and estrogen. And what a lot of that comes down to, if I'm being just blatantly honest, it's people not doing blood work and not staying on top of what their numbers are and going on how they feel as opposed to what's on paper. Because I am not kidding, a lot of these symptoms, they won't be present, and you could still have extremely high estrogen, a lot of toxicity buildup, you name it. If you don't do your blood markers and just go on how you feel, you're going to make errors and mistakes. We've all done it. I've done it. I literally cannot tell you how many people that I see that come to me daily and say they never do blood work, or don't know what I'm talking about, or don't understand why they need to do it so often. And, I try to just break it down. Just think about it, and I'll do it in a very, very quick rundown. Pre, mid, and post. Why? Pre-cycle, you clearly need a baseline. You need to know how you start and how things are affecting you. Mid-cycle, so you can test out your aromatase inhibitor dose, or that way you can also test the gear that you're using and make sure, A, that it's legit, B, that it's dosed properly, because a lot of times things are over or under dose, and you can check on, at least with your testosterone numbers, you can see what if you're enduring certain side effects you should be or not. There's a lot of reasons there, but you need to do mid-cycle, and post-cycle should be self-explanatory because you got to see how you've recovered. At the bare minimum, that's what you want to do, or you're going to skew these numbers. I see a lot of people that will crush prolactin with Deca, and because they're overdoing the Dostanex or the Promi, they're so scared they overdo it. And then I got the people that have never even heard of prolactin and don't address it and run Deca extremely high, and it just shoots through the roof. And that's a major issue. Then I've got people that don't understand how to properly control their estrogen and have the misuse of the aromatase inhibitors that we were talking about. A lot of people that don't understand where they're gaining water, but they have a terrible diet going on and they're using compounds they don't understand, and me having to look at that is often a problem. Misunderstanding what Deca really does and its function. A lot of people just have this thing that it's a big watery, balloony steroid, and it's not. It can actually be extremely dry if you use it properly. And that's another reasoning why I talk about keeping the doses consistent. So 300 milligrams of test, 300 milligrams of Deca, and an oral, and I'm telling you, that cycle is mean. Or stacking it with Primobolan, and I have a video on test, Deca, and Primobolan stack. So that's an old school, guaranteed hit stack if you do it right, But it'll just be a smashing success and hit for you if it's done right and you're responding well. But it has potential to do amazing, and you just don't need a lot. Just remember, a little bit goes a long way, but these are very, very common side effects that I see. Oh, and people running it too long. I see people wanting to run it 16, 20 some odd weeks. And then lastly, the misunderstanding that Deca, people say, well, I want it to lubricate my joints and heal my injuries, but Deca, think of cortisone. This is what I always compare it to. You go get a cortisone shot, and it's like a Band-Aid to a wound, right? You're going to get the cortisone to block your pain out for a while. But what you're doing is basically delaying the inevitable because you're going to have to fix the injury, right? And you're masking the wound, so you're beating up on said location. Like for me, I've had the cortisone in my big toe because I'm pretty sure it's broken. I run every single day, or it's definitely got some sort of something wrong. And so the cortisone will mask it, but I'm running on it, and when the cortisone wears off and you realize you've ultimately made the injury worse by overusing it, not understanding that it hurts. Well, what do you think happens with Deca? Deca lubricates joints, synovial fluid, it builds up, but when you stop using Deca, there's no real healing going on here. It's masking the wound. That's why I steer people to look at real healing peptides, SARMs, HGH, as opposed to Deca, which you're getting Deca side effects, you're suppressing yourself, all the things we discussed, and then you're really not even healing the wound. And you can't stay on Deca forever. You have to come off of it. So that's another big mistake that I see. So there's a long list. I'm probably leaving some things out, but I don't want the video to go on for an hour. But that's kind of the basis and the main thing. So those are things to be aware of. Look, Deca, it can be a really nice compound, but it can cause a lot of problems too. And you've really got to understand the compound and cover all your bases. So if you do those things, you got a much higher chance of success rate. So anyway, that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.